So I get this question a lot. What can I do with my nursing degree? Well, where should I even start? Like nursing is so versatile. There's so many different career roles that you can get yourself into without actually ever doing a postgraduate with majority of them. They might expect you to do a course in that specific area that you're working in, but you literally can work anywhere without ever having to do your postgraduate. So that is so amazing. And honestly, I have to say, nursing is the best career ever. That is my unbiased opinion. Anyway, so in this video, I'm just going to be dividing it into four. First thing is what you can do in a hospital, what you can do in a clinic setting, what you can do outside of hospital and clinic, and the roles that you can enter into should you wish to do your postgraduate or courses that require you to have some speciality. So the first one is hospital. Like hospitals, it's got a wide variety of wards that you can work in. There's obviously your midwifery, medical, surgical, and sometimes it's a mixture of both. And under all those medical and surgical, there's so many different other branches. Like in medical, you can have urology, you can have endocrinology, you can have peds and a medical. Then with surgical, it's the same thing. And then my utmost favorite is orthopedic and cardiothoracic. Like those are like my favorite. Like I just love everything about them. Then obviously you've got oncology, you've got pediatrics, you've got ICU. So there's such a wide variety that you can get yourself into straight after finishing university. And then there's obviously psychiatric, but with psychiatric, if you're in the new program, unfortunately you cannot go into psych because you do not have that training in your course over the 4 years. So obviously if you want to go into psych, you'd have to do a 1-year diploma. But for everyone else in the old program, you can literally go into psych straight after university. After doing your nursing degree, there's so many wards that you can work into, and you literally can exchange them over the course of the years, because I know for most young nursing students, they want to get their hands on everything. So you literally can work like 3 months or 6 months here, move on to another one just to see what you like, because when you're in nursing school, you really don't get that much exposure. Yes, you're moving around and that sort of thing, but you literally are staying there for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and you're going to that placement like 2 times in a week. So you really never get into the full routine of things. So staying in a place for 6 months, usually in that 6 months you'd be doing night and day shift, so you can see both. And like I feel like straight after university, you've got so much energy and so much passion, and it is a time for you to be exploring, and the hospital really allows you to do that and be able to move around. And then in most of these areas, they might expect you to do a course to specifically specialize in that, but it's not like a full-on postgraduate degree. It's like usually it's like 6 week courses. Okay, so a bit of change in scenery. I had to move rooms. This is the difficulties of being a content creator. Anyway, as I was saying, so if you're working in a certain ward, they might expect you to do a 6-week or 8-week course to just increase your knowledge in that ward that you're working. For me, I think that's a great advantage to you, because obviously one, you start getting paid a lot higher because obviously you are specialized, I guess, and also it's increasing your knowledge so that you can be able to provide better care for your patients, because you do know a lot more than a general registered nurse would. So for example, let's use a scrub nurse. So you're working in theater, you can literally work in theater straight after university, but you're just a registered nurse. And if you do obviously the 6-week or 8-week course, depending how long it is, you actually start getting paid the salary of a scrub nurse because you have specialized. So that's definitely one advantage. So let us get into clinic nursing. So with clinic nursing, you literally can be thrown to work anywhere. I just need to mention this right here. If you are in the new program, yes, you do not graduate with a yellow bar for community health nursing, but your modules contain primary health care competencies or things that you need to know if you're working in a clinic setting. As a result, you'll be able to work in a clinic setting even if you do not have the yellow bar. The reason why not I don't know, you must ask saying that, but I'm just conveying this message to you. So in a clinic setting, you can work as an HIV nurse, a TB nurse, child health, general ailments. You can work in the emergency department. So whatever services that hospital offers, you'll be able to work in it because you are a registered nurse, and some might even become infection control nurses and all of that, but I'll speak about that later on. So that's everything that has to do with the clinic and hospital. Then there's one that I want to mention that's not either clinic or nurse, but sort of a combination, is agency, or what they call in the States travel nursing. So agency or travel nursing is where you pretty much have no set permanent post at any hospital or clinic or health setup. You just move from different facilities, filling in where they have shortages. So this is somewhat of a good place to end in because you can choose which hours you can work. If you decide that week you don't want to work, you don't accept any jobs as an agency, and it offers you that flexibility. But the disadvantage in a South African setting is that the agencies take a big cut out of your money, so it might not be necessarily something that you want to consider, but hey, if you need a job, you can do that. And some people actually do agency and a permanent post. So let's say, for example, you are working at Grootersdorp Hospital, and then on your off days you can speak to an agency and they can slot you in. Obviously you need to make sure that your mental and physical health are in check should you be doing this, because it really can take a lot on you. But I know, like with the sisters that are working at the clinic where I am, Monday to Friday they're working at their clinic, and then over the weekend they can take some night shift duties and work that, because obviously you do get paid a little bit more if you're working night shift and you're working overtime, or you're working on a weekend and public holidays. So there's that advantage. And if you're in a clinic setting, you don't work weekends, you don't work public holidays, so you've got all that free money. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider if you don't want to have the whole issue of paying a cut to the agency and that sort of thing. Listen to the end where I'm going to be telling you one of my favorite specialties that you can get into that can help you to avoid that whole agency thing. So the next thing is non-hospital positions. There's the typical ones: old age home, home-based care, where you provide services to people in their homes. That's mostly for the aged, and obviously those that have got medical conditions or paralyzed and that sort of thing. So that's something you can get yourself into. It sort of links to what I'm going to be speaking about at the end, so stay in for that one. Then you've got school or university nursing. University nursing, it's more about, it's almost like in a clinic setting where you see patients as they come in. But school nursing is, I absolutely love it. It's definitely something I want to consider going into. Like, guys, I have so many professions and roles that I want to get into. Like, it's going to be so difficult to decide what I want, but I want to get a hands-on experience on everything before I actually decide, because I feel like I've got a lot of interest. But anyway, what I was saying about school nursing is pretty much where you are put in a geographic region, and then you are allocated different schools that can be primary schools or high schools, and you provide different services to those schools. So in a primary setting, you're making sure that the kids are dewormed, they've had their immunizations, checking for any learning, hearing problems, congenital problems, learning difficulties, and that sort of thing, and then providing them with health services or providing them with referrals so they can get tertiary help should they need be. And then in a high school setting, it's more about family planning, educating on safe sex, and more of like a health education type of thing. And then obviously in a space of a month, you need to have seen each school, and then obviously you interact with the clinics nearby and the hospitals to make sure that they can provide those services to the schools, or you bring those services to the schools and that sort of thing. So it's more of an independent role. You get to control which universities your universities, which schools you're going to be seeing at which time, and liaising with the principals of those schools and the parents, providing health talks with the parents so they understand why you're doing certain things and that sort of thing. If you're a really independent person and you love having control over what you need to do, this definitely is an awesome role for you to get yourself into, which is why I love it. I love the independence and be able to have that one-on-one interaction with my patients. And then, other fancy ones that have been, becoming very popular is your cruise nurse and your airline nurse. So as the name says, cruise nurse, you're working on a cruise ship. Airline nurse, you're working on an airline to provide health services to obviously patients that get sick on those modes of transport. They get paid a lot of money because obviously you're far away from your family or from normal civilization for really, really long periods of time, and you literally are on call 24/7. So you get paid really nice money. But if you're with a family, it's not really something to consider doing. But if you literally just entry graduate and you just want to have that adrenaline rush, exploring, traveling, it's definitely a good mashup of all those different passions to be able to come together and travel the world while you're also providing health services. So that is everything you can do in a hospital, clinic, and non-hospital clinic settings. Obviously this is not an exhaustive list, there's probably plenty more things, but I'm just highlighting the most popular or the most interesting ones. You're more than welcome to do additional research, and then obviously you're more than welcome to go outside of South Africa to find more specialties, because there's something called cosmetic nursing, but it's not a thing in South Africa and that sort of thing. So if there's other things that you find on the internet that you're interested in that South Africa doesn't offer, you're more than welcome to go outside, study it, practice it there, or study it there, and then come back to South Africa and provide those services. Because even though South Africa does not perhaps offer those courses to do those things, you will still be able to do it in South Africa if you just get training elsewhere. So now I'm just going to be focusing on things that you can do with your nursing degree but expects to have some form of further training. The very first one that everyone knows is operational manager. So operational manager is pretty much where you just oversee the administration tasks of a certain ward. So you're making sure that you constantly have enough nursing staff to work, and all other admin stuff, like if there's an incident in the ward, if there needs to be dietitians brought to that ward, they just pretty much do all the admin that is related to that ward, usually like ordering your equipment, medications, and all that jazz. So if you're someone who is very independent, who doesn't want to have that hands-on experience with your patients, because you rarely see your patients if you're an operational manager, because you're constantly in meetings and all of that jazz, and you're someone who likes to have an office desk type of thing, then this definitely is for you. Definitely something I would consider doing. As you can see, I have a lot of interest. They expect you to have about 8 to 10 years experience working in a ward, so for you to have a good understanding of what happens in a ward, because you can't literally be fresh into nursing and wanting to be an operational manager. It doesn't make sense. So obviously you need that experience, and obviously you need training to get your nursing management. It's a 1 year in nursing management. Another one is your infection control and prevention nursing. So pretty much it's a nurse that's in charge of making sure that no infections are being passed from the patients to the nursing staff and vice versa, and just to make sure that all infections are put under control. So they're the ones who are putting in policies about PPE, how to discard certain things, what type of PPE is needed in a certain environment, providing training to nurses about how to use a certain PPE and that sort of thing. So it's all just about controlling the infections that are around your work environment, to make sure that no one is spreading it from one person to another. And at times they will actually work with your occupational health nurse, which is another specialty role that you can get into, where you pretty much With the occupational health nurse, it's more about preventing injuries to your patients than preventing infections. So preventing injuries in how you do your job, in how the environment is set up, to make sure that you're not hurting yourself. A good example is at every bedside there needs to be a sharps container, and the reason for this is they don't want a nurse to be walking around with a needle to go to the end of the room to go put it in a sharps container. So that is a policy that an occupational health nurses put in for the safety of the patient, so that you don't poke anyone on your way to the bin, and obviously for the safety of the nurse who's giving the medication or the injection and that sort of thing. So your infection control and your occupational health nurses usually work together, and it's a 1-year diploma after your bachelor's degree. And another popular one is a nurse educator. So with a nurse educator, obviously you need a master's in nursing education to be able to teach, and you need to have at least 5 years experience in a hospital setting, and you also need to be a higher level. You need to be 1 year level higher than what you're going to be teaching. And let me put it in this context. If you're going to be teaching students that are doing their undergraduate, you need to have your masters. If you're teaching students that are in their postgraduate, you need to have your doctorate. Does that make sense? So you need to be a higher level. You need to be at a higher level of qualification than someone that you're teaching, because you can't be at the same level teaching the same person. It really doesn't make sense. And then this is different to your supervisors. So nursing educators is those that are your lecturers, and then supervisors is just nursing staff that have experience and then just chosen to become supervisors or to help other nursing students in their training without being an educator or that being a lecturer. And then thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end, to my favorite part, which is opening your own practice. So you actually can provide your nursing services to private clients. So you don't even have to work under an agency. You literally can find clients and tell them, hey, I'm a registered nurse, I can provide these services to you. Obviously you need to be registered as a business, and there's a whole lot of admin stuff that goes with it. One day when I embark on that journey to starting my own practice, I would definitely explain to you how the whole thing happens. But from what I understand, you need to have a practice number like a private business, and then obviously you can provide services, so you can approach people. It's usually your biggest clients would be those that have chronic illnesses like your diabetics, hypertensives, to just check up on their medication and that sort of thing. And obviously for your older patients that have got chronic illnesses, bedridden and that sort of thing, and you can provide services for them. So that's the first tier of it. Then the second level is obviously opening a physical building, and then having a certain number of services that you can provide, obviously according to the qualifications that you have. So if you're just a general registered nurse, there's a certain level of services that you can provide according to your scope of practice. Then obviously if you get your master's, it advances Ph.D. and that sort of thing, and you can actually end up recruiting now doctors to come in your practice, or you can just employ other nurses, and it can be a whole nurse run hospital clinic setting. So most people end up at a clinic level, but you actually can go all the way to opening your own hospital. Obviously it's going to require a lot of capital and a lot of manpower and patience and all of that jazz, but I really would love to see a nurse owned or a nurse run hospital. I think it would be amazing. No shade to doctors and all of that, but I just think it would be really cool. I hope one day to have my own small practice. I feel like hospital is a bit of a woo. Maybe if a group of friends come together and we open that hospital, that'd be amazing. But definitely my goal as a personal goal for myself career wise is definitely opening my own practice. So if that is something that you're interested in, to obviously create your own work hours, see your own patients, and get that moolah, definitely opening your own practice comes in. But obviously be warned, there's a whole lot of legal things that come with it and that sort of thing. So if you're going to embark on that journey, make sure that you're going through the right route and you're not taking shortcuts, because you really don't want to be providing incorrect malpractice and all of that jazz. You really don't want to get yourself arrested for all of that. So if you're going to do it, make sure that you're going through the right channels. Even if it takes you 10 years to open it, make sure that you're protecting yourself, your investments, and your patients. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It was so fun researching about it and finding out what I can do with my course straight after university and further on in my career. If you guys have any more questions, definitely comment down below, answer it, and definitely tell me down in the comments which would be your favorite specialties to go into. I feel like in this video I've literally guys told you my interests, so I'd be very, very interested to see what you guys are interested in or endeavoring to get to. I will see you guys next week Friday at 4 p.m. South African time. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Bye guys.